Hi everyone, as Daniel has said, my name is George. I'm an officer and a traffic controller in the Brazilian Air Force. I would like to thank ICAO for being here and giving me the opportunity to explain some of the work we have done here in Brazil regarding UAS activities. As you could see in the previous presentation, the National Civil Aviation Agency is responsible for, among other things, airworthiness certificate issuing. Once the operator has received the aircraft certificate, they will be able to apply their space access request, which is going to be issued by Brazilian Aerospace Control Department, known as the SAE. The SAE is an organization under the wings of the Brazilian Air Force, which is responsible for, among other things, aeronautical meteorology, aeronautical telecommunications, aeronautical information service, search and rescue, and aerospace control. On that regard, the Brazilian authorities have been working together since 2009 to foster, in a safe way, the UAS industry through the accommodation of this new technology into the Brazilian airspace control system. Based on the approach, it was possible to run the first trial regarding the delivery operation in Brazil. The operation is taking place in Campinas, 100 kilometers from São Paulo City, which has the busiest terminal area in the country, with more than 600,000 movements per year. After the certificate was issued, the operator started their space access application with the SAE's regional body, which was responsible for the concerned airspace. Based on local regulations, the operator has made a risk assessment process which establishes the risks involved as well as the proposed mitigation to reduce those risks. The whole process was oversight and approved by Brazilian authorities. Even though the reoperation is going to occur over low population density area, the system must comply with the minimum distance from people according to the rules in place. So the operator demonstrated during the certification process being able to comply with safety requirements. However, it was noted that although the reoperation is going to occur in Class G airspace, there is a helipad into the delivery area. Because of that, three main risks were raised: traffic conflict between unmanned aircraft and helicopter during the land and departing phase, communication failure between remote pilot and helipad operator, and low visibility conditions. For each risk highlighted, at least one mitigation was proposed by the operator in order to reduce those risks. Once we are still in accommodation phase, the whole operation is going to be made in segregated airspace through a NOTAM issue. Although everything went well, we are completely aware that this approach is not scalable. We need to keep moving forward to the integration of this new entrant into the Brazilian airspace control system. So, in order to allow the market to grow in a safe and expeditious manner, we needed to come up with a better solution. On that regard, the SAE has started developing, based on SAPA system issued in 2016, a Brazilian UAS traffic management to allow the scalability of BVLI's operation without impairing the current ATM system. After 5 years and almost 500,000 airspace access requests, the SAE is going to update the system to allow potential suppliers to connect with them through the application program interface based on the department guideline. For that, the SAPA's architecture was divided in back and front end. The SAPA's back end, known as BRUTM, is going to play a key role in the Brazilian UTM system and will allow the authorities to interact with the UTM environment through the API. The SAPA's front end, known as SAPA's next generation, is going to be the first supplier of the Brazilian UTM system. For the Brazilian UTM proof of concept, 4 levels and 5 scenarios were proposed. Once those levels and scenarios are combined, they are going to define the phase of the system. Each scenario is composed by a set of servers and is going to be increased as the technology gains more maturity. The 4 levels proposed are going to be based on the type of airspace in which the system will be implemented. So, level 1 and level 2 are related to uncontrolled airspace, and level 3 and level 4 are related to controlled airspace. Regarding the area, level 1 and level 3 will not involve approach and takeoff zone. Nevertheless, level 2 and level 4 will. The approach and takeoff zone were established based on local regulations and can be described, for now, as a no-fly zone for a UAS operation. However, once the UTM system gains more maturity, the approach and takeoff zone are going to be used through the interoperability between the UTM and ATM system. The 5 scenarios you take into consideration the concerned environment, as well the volume of operations. Scenario 1 and Scenario 2 are related to rural area, and Scenario 3, 4, and 5 are going to be based on cities categorization, taking into consideration the volume of operations. Once the pandemic situation allows, the tests starting with in phase 1 and 2 are going to be made involve the ANSP, industry, operators, and Brazilian authorities. For those tests, we are going to establish a segregated airspace with the support of the SEAS regional body and the Brazilian Air Force Academy. The tests will comprise simulated and real flights and is going to allow all stakeholders, including main aviation, to interact with the system through the services such as registration, identification, flight planning with all information the operators needs, flight authorization in accordance with local regulation, strategic deconfliction before flight, restrictions such as geofence and NOTAM, and the last but not least, priorities based on privilege established during the identification phase. The second phase is going to occur in the same area used for the phase 1 and is going to have the same service with internet addition. Once the tests are made, we are quite confident that the data gathered are going to help us moving forward to the UTM implementation. On that regard, the SEA is going to continue working with industry, academia, and the operators to foster in a safe way the UAS operation scalability. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you during the live meeting.